Now it's time to drink, pop champagne and throw in some Hennessy. Now it's time to dance, off your shirt and throw in some Magali. Aye yo,
welcome back, and we move from the flood disaster to what we expect will not be a disaster, the PIB bill, the PIB, and we'll be looking at matters arising since the President has just sent the bill to the House. The Minister of Petroleum Resources has declared that the new bill will provide a refreshing fiscal regime, as it would offer strong incentives for enhanced exploration of new frontiers, especially in the inland sedimentary basins, as well as provide a strong support base for the complete activation of the nation's gas master plan. I'm sure the first question that you would ask is, which version of the PIB? Well, we'll leave it to those who should know, and we have a panel who have whose insights we want to tap into this morning, starting with Mr. Bala Zaka, who's a petroleum engineer. Good morning.
Morning, Nigerians.
We also have the Executive Director, Spaces for Change, Ms. Victoria Ibezim-Ohaeri.
Good morning.
Good morning. We also have a legal practitioner, Mr. Liboros Oshoma.
Always my pleasure.
Good morning. Good to have you with us.
Same here.
Maybe I should begin with Mr. Bala. The first question anybody would ask when you say PIB is, which version of the PIB? Do you happen to have the answer to that question?
Yes, based on what has been posted and what most of us saw on the screen that was raised and flagged by the Minister for Petroleum, is the PIB 2012. It has 223 pages with watermarks. So that is the version. Before now, I was actually relying on the version that has about 189 pages. So the recent one was the one that was flagged by the minister with watermarks, and it has 223 pages.
Is that in public circulation yet?
Yes. In fact, I didn't download my own from the NNPC website. I downloaded it from the NBA website. I think it is within public domain now.
Because the version
NBA.
I saw...
Yes, NBA's website.
Okay, all right. Okay.
The version I saw on the internet is the NNPC version, which is about 183 pages.
89
Or
pages.
If you check now, you'll see that 2000 PIB 2012
Well,
with 223 pages.
with a
Very-
signature mark.
And
across
Yes,
it,
across all the pages.
all the pages.
Okay. Ms. O'Hari, the man on the street doesn't really bother which version has gone through and which version hasn't. His own headache is that he wants to have fuel at the pump 24/7. He wants access to kerosene when he needs it, and the big man who owns a factory or who owns a diesel generator wants access to diesel whenever he needs it. Is this bill going to affect all these supplies?
That certainly is going to affect everybody because of the fuel dependency ratio in Nigeria. Almost every aspect of the economy is tied to fuel, whether it's power generation, whether it's transportation, whether it's food production, whether it is manufacturing. Everything in one way or the other is tied to energy, fuel supply. So I think it is now imperative for Nigerians to really get involved. I think part of the problem is that for a long time, many Nigerians really relaxed and allowed industry experts to deal with the issues of oil and gas. It was until January that Nigerians began to really ask very sensitive questions, because that is the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. So many things went wrong. There were few eyes watching the regulators. And by the time Nigerians realized what has been happening, a lot of water has really passed through the tunnel. So I think this presents an opportunity. The time that we have now, you have an ample opportunity for many Nigerians to really begin to understand how the PIB affects their own sector. Because if you look at the PIB, like you rightly mentioned, it has 22, 23 pages. It's quite broad. It's very, very voluminous. It covers everything from environmental protection to community issues to gas management, gas utilization to taxation. It's quite too much of different sectors covered in one document. So it now behoves on all those different sectors to now come together to understand how those provisions will affect them in the future. Because this will, this is the document that will determine the certainty for various, for the investment that will happen post-BIB era. So this is the time for many people to really begin to ask the very critical questions. We cannot continue to allow the oil and gas, the engineers, the geologists to continue to make this decision that affect like the market woman on the street.
Okay. Now, Libo, if this bill is passed, number one, will it affect Nigeria's income? And that's one. And two, will it affect the ordinary man on the street?
You see, for me, like I was discussing with Bala before the program, sometimes it's not lack of laws that's our problem, but implementation of these laws. Now we're talking about the PIB bill, the PIB law, that is going to signal Eldorado in the oil and gas industry.
So we're told.
And yeah, exactly. And currently we have about 16 laws existing in this sector. And so the PI bill is a reformation of all these, some of these obsolete laws. Some of them as old as 50-something years. And with that, we signal Eldorado, and then some of the practices that we hitherto had been seen in the operation of the oil and gas sector, like the deep water drilling, where royalties are not, government don't make anything because it is, according to the IOC, it's pretty difficult to do deep water drilling, and so royalties are not paid. And now with the PIB bill, it is you're going to pay royalty based on the quantity drilled. And then also the host community fund, where every company that is operating in the upstream sector will contribute 10% net of their profit to a fund, which will be called the host community fund, that will be utilized for the host communities. And then also the unbundling of NNPC and the creation of a Nigerian oil company that will, just like you have in Malaysia, in Saudi Arabia, and Petrobras in Brazil, and that these companies, like all other international oil companies, would compete, in exploration and production and marketing of oil and gas. And so that also will generate income. And then apart from NNPC, where government has 100% ownership, this will be a joint venture thing. And all of this.
In other words, Nigeria is going to make more money.
Nigeria is going to make more money. Fantastic on paper. But my problem is, like I said, a situation where you've bundled NNPC into 9 different parastatals, and the appointment of the boards, of the members of these boards, these different 9 parastatals, would be made by the president or the advice of the Minister of Petroleum. Are we not indirectly creating a super Minister of Petroleum, a situation where you have a Minister of Petroleum who is so powerful by virtue of his or her closeness to the president, and then who has been fingered or have been alleged to be corrupt in some instances? Situation you have a minister like that, what happens to such a sector? How are we going to benefit? And then also this fund, this host community fund, we've seen and we've heard the huge corruption going on in some of these parastatals like NDDC, even the states oil mineral producing parastatals agencies also. How is this fund that is going to the host community, fantastic if well managed, how is it going to be managed? These are some of my worries.